Today I'm going through the skin. Okay. There's three main layers of the skin. The epidermis, dermis, and the hypodermis. Okay. Let's start with the epidermis. Remember, epi means on top. So this will be the top portion. Okay? Let's break it down. There's 5 here. Sorry. Stratum corneum, which is 20 to 30 layers of dead cells. You know what dead cells mean? That means keratinized. Keratinized cells. Keratinized is like a waterproof layer. So if you see a slide that has no nucleus, it means on the top layer of cells, it means it's keratinized. Okay? And we want this to protect from abrasion, and we want it to act as like a waterproof layer. That's our first layer, the stratum corneum. Next is the stratum lucidium. The stratum lucidium is 2 to 3 layers, and it's only in thick skin. Okay, just want to mention now, thick skin does not have hair. So this does not have glands, specifically sweat glands, right? It doesn't have any of that, right? So this would be like the palm, soles of your feet, etc. Okay? Next layer. Granulosum is 3 to 5 layers of keratinization, which is, it's just cells that produce keratin. Okay. Then we've got the stratum spinosum, which is 2 to 3 layers of non-dividing cells. Dividing means mitosis. Think about, so dividing, and let's say dividing equals mitosis. Okay, mitosis form 2 identical diploid cells. Okay, 2 to 3 layers of non-dividing cells. Then we've got our last layer, which is the stratum basal layer. Okay, this is just one layer, and it's dividing. So what happens is the basal layer is rapidly dividing, and when, let's say I scratch the top of my skin and there's now damage to the top of my skin, right? What will happen is the basal layer will start proliferating. So damage, it will start proliferating and growing more, and the extra cells will push up, and it'll push it to the top. So it'll get a new layer of cells, right? So it'll be rapidly dividing. That's why the basal layer is rapidly dividing. This is the epidermis. You can remember that from Come, Let's Get Sunburnt. That's how you can remember it. Okay. Sorry. That's how you can remember it. Come, let's get sunburnt. Okay? Let's do the next layer. The dermis. The dermis is the thickest layer. So this section was the epidermis. I want you to remember, anything with derm equals skin. Should mention that now. Anything with derm equals skin. Okay? Then, this is the dermis. It's the thickest layer. Okay? And the two layers that break into the dermis are the papillary and the reticular layer. The reticular layer is made of loose connective tissue. Or areolar tissue. Alright? And it houses nerve endings, capillary loops, and lots of other things, right? So it's loose connective tissue. I'll go through this the end. I'll go through the four types of connective tissue. Four types of connective tissue proper, just to break it down. Okay, let me get through this. Now we've got the reticular. The reticular is made of dense irregular. I just want to add dense irregular is like tensile strength in multiple directions. It's made of dense irregular connective tissue. Okay, and it has a lot of things. It has nerves, blood vessels, right? It houses the lymphatic system in there, the lymphatic vessels, glands, etc. Okay? Now, of these two layers, the reticular is the thickest. Okay? Let's go to the next section. Now we've got the hypodermis. And you want, okay, hypodermis. How do I know that? Hypo means below. So it's below the dermis. So the hypodermis is below the dermis. Okay? In the hypodermis, we store fat, put it simply. And fat does really two things. Mechanical cushioning and and it also does energy storage. Okay? Now let's go and break up. So there's connective tissue, right? There's 4 types of connective tissue: blood, bone, cartilage, and connective tissue proper. Okay. The one we need to know today is connective tissue proper, and that's the one we're going to go through today. And connective tissue proper is broken down into 4 more categories. Okay. First one being loose connective, like we spoke about before. This allows for nutrient transport, the loose connective tissue, right? So it has gaps for transport. So it has so the loose connective tissue is high vascularity, like nutrient transport, right? A lot of ground substance. We'll go through what ground substance is, but ground substance is like tissue hydration. It's for tissue hydration. It's part of the extracellular matrix. It's got a lot of cells. It's got a high number of cells. It's got collagen fibers, but the collagen fibers are thin. Just want to mention they're thin. There's collagen fibers that are thin. And those are the main things you need to know about loose connective. The next one is dense. Okay. And dense is broken up into 4. Regular, irregular, elastic. And what you can remember is, right, dense tissue, it has lower number of cells than the loose connective. Lower number of cells. It has a lot of fibroblasts. Fibroblasts produce connective tissue. So fibroblasts produce connective tissue, and fibrocytes maintain connective tissue. It maintains connective tissue. So we've got low number of cells, high number of fibroblasts, because it's very dense. But it has low vascularity. That's why it's hard to repair, right? So an example of like a dense connective tissue is tendons. They take a long time to repair because they have low vascularity, a low amount of ground substance. Okay, and it also has collagen fibers. But collagen fibers, in this case, are thick compared to the collagen fibers of the loose connective, which are thin. Let's break regular. Let's break it down now. Dense is broken down into 3. Regular is tensile strength in one direction. I want you to remember that. That's its benefit. It allows for tensile strength in one direction. Think about it. Where do I want that? Tendons. Tendons are muscle to bone. Right? And they need to be stretched. They stretch. That's why they need high tensile strength in one direction. Okay? But remember, tendons take a long time to heal. That's because of its low vascularity and low amount of ground substance. Now we've got irregular. Irregular is tensile strength in multiple directions. So you have, look, multiple directions. Tensile strength in multiple directions. You're going to say, what do we want this for? The epidermis. The epidermis is the skin, remember? That's why we want tensile strength in multiple directions. Let's say when I gain weight rapidly, my skin's going to be able to stretch in multiple directions. That's why we need high tensile strength in multiple directions. Okay? Then we got elastic. Elastic would be it recoils back to original length. Think about an elastic band. That's what elastic is for. Think about, what do we want that for? Oh, blood vessel walls. Why do we want our blood vessel walls? Blood vessel walls constrict. Need to constrict and dilate to control heat and blood flow, right? And does control other things. But for it to be able to constrict and dilate rapidly, it needs to be able to recoil back to original length. It needs to have that elasticity to be able to be stretched and go back to its original forms. It's constricting and dilating. Okay, those are two. Now we've got another two. Sorry, I'm just going to bring it over to the next page. Next to connective tissue proper are reticular and adipose. Adipose tissue, just think of fat, right? We talked about fat before. It's made of triglycerides. Triglycerides are literally just 3 fatty acids and 1 glycerol. So the glycerol is the glycerol backbone. And these are the fatty acids. Okay? Then we got the reticular. The reticular, I think about it as a framework. Let's say I want to make a building, right? It's my blueprint. It's my blueprint for my building. Okay? And the reticular, so the reticular makes like don't think about it as that. Think about it as, a better way to think about it as is like it's the foundations. Foundations, right? And the reticular would be a part of the liver. It would be the foundation of liver. The liver as an organ. So the liver is made of reticular tissue. Okay? So it acts as like sort of a foundation, something to build off. Because there's multiple different types of cells within the liver. But the reticular acts as that framework or architectural framework. We talked about adipose before, fat really. We talked about how it's mechanical cushioning. It does mechanical cushioning. It does heat regulation, energy storage through triglycerides. This is triglyceride. Yeah, and we talked about all that. Thank you.